Welcome to math class, Wednesday, September 2nd, 2015. Today's objective is to add integers. Let's begin. Meet René Descartes. Looks like Bob Klowski, but it is not. This is the famous mathematician who created the Cartesian coordinate system, otherwise known as the grid. And he has a question for all of us. What is an integer? Meet Fibonacci, the greatest mathematician of the Middle Ages. There's a sequence named after him. However, he has an answer for René. In order to understand integers, we must first understand whole numbers. Whole numbers are collections of ones. 1 plus 1 plus 1, for instance, equals 3. And we also know 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1/2 equals 3.5. 3 is considered a whole number because it is a collection of just ones. However, 3.5 is not considered a whole number because it has that half that's being added to those ones. Now, integers are simply whole numbers, and they're opposites. So, 3 and -3 are integers, but 3.5 and -3.5 are not. You got it, René. So now that René and Fibonacci understand what integers are, whole numbers and their opposites, let's add them. There's two basic systems that we could use to showcase this. One is the number line, which goes from -infinity to infinity, and you'll notice only the integers are marked. Yes, 0 is considered an integer. Now, we also have the tug of war, where we have negatives and positives battling for supremacy to see who has more on their side. Let's take a look first at the number line. Let's take 2 and add -3. First, we're going to put a dot over 2 because that's our first add-in. It's our first number in the sentence here. Now we're going to add a -3. Now adding a negative quantity is going to lead us in the negative direction. So we're going to add 3 negatives. -1, -2, and -3, and we stop. And we stopped over -1. And guess what? That's our answer. It's as easy as that. So the sum of 2 plus -3 equals -1. If we were to add a positive amount to our first number, we would simply go in the positive direction. Let's take a look now at the tug of war. We're going to take -4 and add 3. So we have negatives versus the positives. And you can imagine a rope in between them right now. The 4 negatives are represented by 4 red rectangles, and the 3 positives are represented by 3 blue plus signs. Now, these 3 negatives and these 3 positives, they will cancel each other out. As you know, 3 negatives cancels out 3 positives. This is called a zero pair. However, if we're looking at this tug-of-war game, it looks like the negatives are going to win because they brought 1 extra negative to the match. And that -1 that's left over is our answer. So the sum of -4 plus 3 equals -1. So those are two different ways in which you can look at adding integers.